So I'm here today to tell you why we chose American Custom Exterior and Interior of Rochester, New York. I wanted to start out by telling you that we got 4 quotes. We got one from all here in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes, from Proctor, Victor Siding and Roofing, which is also known as Dayton Enterprises, 5-star improvements, and then we got another quote from American Custom Exterior and Interior. I just want to explain a little bit more about what we did and how we came up with the choice, and to give you guys tips and ideas and our thoughts of how we came up with that decision. The first one came out to the door, confirmed that we wanted siding, and I showed him that on our door, around our windows and doors, we already had it wrapped. So I made sure that was, he was aware of that, and he said that would be fine. And he would just do measurements online and then email me a quote. And I got the quote, and needless to say, it had him re-wrapping the doors and windows. So there was a price in there in his quote after I showed him that it was already done for him to do that service. So after that, I had asked him if he wanted to redo the quote, and he never got back to me, so I let that one go, which was for the best. James, the owner for Dayton Enterprises, came out. I explained to him the same thing, that we already have the windows and doors wrapped. All we needed to do is side up to it, and also that our soffits and fascia in several areas, and especially in front of the house, was rotted, and those boards need to be included in the estimate to be replaced before they side and wrap over that. So I went and showed him those, and he at that point had said, wow, yeah, you're right, you definitely need those replaced. But he was very uncomfortable, it seemed, to have this huge of a project. He definitely didn't seem as knowledgeable as American or 5-star, who kind of spent a little bit more time with us and explained what they do, how they do it, what siding they use, brought us samples of what it's going to look like, etc. And he also said it was going to take the entire summer with just him and another guy. So we decided to let that one go as well. That brings me to 5-star. We had a gentleman come out, and he wasn't here very long. Again, he just came up, said he was going to do some measurements online. We went over discussing the wrapping of the pillars, our post in the house, and basically went over what they use for siding and etc. It's kind of like when you meet somebody, you kind of know what you feel. I mean, you can identify whether you feel comfortable with that person or not. With them, 5-star requested a third of the payment on the project up front, and not much time was spent at all. And when doing that, when he came to actually sit down with my husband and I to go over the quote, he actually, and this was after we read reviews and we went through the every single one who gave us a quote. We went, checked out all the reviews, checked it. You just type in the business name, type in bad reviews, see if they have any, check out all of the reviews left on their Facebook, on their website, on Yelp, Google, anywhere. When you Google their name and write down reviews or bad reviews, good reviews, it'll pull up everything. We read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews everywhere. And there were so many red flags that all came to the roots, the same problems, which was money. They were ask for a third of it up front, but then halfway through or a quarter way through the projects or toward the ends of the projects, they run out of money for the project and ask the homeowners for more money. which to me is a red flag because it shows that they're not budgeting well for their projects or not saving from the project prior to pay for the project going forward. So it just seemed like that was definitely an issue. Workmanship was definitely an issue. People were showing pictures, which you all can read all of these on their own, on the same thing. Just Google these companies. Do it with any company. Get 4 or 5 quotes and then spend a couple months actually looking at the reviews and the testimonials and, calling and talking to people that have listed it. Pretty much a lot of it can be done right online, just by looking at and reading the reviews and testimonials. So altogether, the 3 of them, 5-Star, Proctor, and Dayton Enterprises, all literally spent probably a total of probably 30 to 45 minutes combined with us. Kevin came out from American and met with me. My husband was working, so he met with me. I walked around the house, was explaining, the details, what we were looking for, told him how bad, our insulation is, so that needs to be addressed where our bedrooms are. Kevin had he spent over an hour with me walking around and pointed out stuff that I had even missed, that my husband had even missed, with some areas that some chipmunks and squirrels and stuff had got into that need to be replaced. And he made sure that those boards that needed to be replaced were included in the quote so that we had no hidden cost, which was awesome. The one thing with Kevin that I want to say that was huge to me is that he came here, and it was almost like meeting a friend and family that you knew for like your life. He was very down to earth. There was no pushy salesman with him. There was no, you didn't see dollar signs. You didn't even get the vibe from him that they were even seeing dollar signs at all. They were really about, hey, you have a problem, we have a solution, here's what we can offer you, here's what it's going to cost for us to do that to the best of our abilities with the best products that we have, with the best quality of work and the best team. And that's the feeling I got from them right off the bat, from the very first time I met Kevin from American. So he was the only one and the first one to also explain to us not only could they wrap the pillars posts that we have in our porch, but they could also wrap the ceiling. And that was huge because that completely sealed our entire wood structure underneath our old siding and also made it maintenance free for us for years. We are both in our late 40s and we plan on being here, so we don't want to have to paint, which we would have had to do originally. The ceilings were actually in really bad condition on the porches and ready to fall down. So it was really nice that they were able to add that in, replace it, and then wrap it so that we don't even have to do any maintenance with that other than like brooming up some spider webs probably that are going to be there, stuff like that. So that was one thing. I really want to do kudos to Kevin for that. I'm trying to look through my notes to see if there's something else that I had wrote down that I don't want to miss. I already talked about that. When I got Kevin's quote, it was very, very detailed. He also mentioned that they do minimal damage to the yard, to the property, etc., by using scaffolding and ladders and stuff like that, where the other company in their quote/contract said they can't guarantee any property damage wouldn't occur and that they weren't responsible for it. So it sounded like they were just going to come in, they might make a hell of a mess and not even like fix it. And that was literally in their contract. So I was like, that was a huge, huge red flag, and I was not about to go into that. The other ones had a lot of other loopholes in their contract that left it where they could give us a price, start the project, and then add in a whole bunch of other prices that were hidden cost. And Kevin made sure that that was not going to be the case. The other thing that was some of the other contractors also kind of were talking about basically where if they got to a project or a part of the house that was rotted, you know, they might have to, you know, increase our cost because they'd have to increase materials, etc., rather than anticipating. Or one thing Kevin had done is built in a certain amount of footage of wood, so in case there was a hidden project or a hidden rotted stuff, that it was already included, or it was already included in the quote, that if they had to go above and beyond by another 150 feet, it was included. And I'll tell you what, even if they didn't have to do any of that, it is worth every penny for what we paid for what they did. It is amazing. I'm giving this review and going through all of my paperwork, explaining why we chose this company. And I'm also, this is after they've been here for a week, Labor Day week, before and after Labor Day, working on it, and they are doing a fantastic job. I have another video talking a little bit more about that and showing some the day before, and then a couple videos in between that shows the progress. Okay, let me look at my notes again, see if there's anything else that I've got here. Yeah, let's see. I already talked about that. American doesn't ask for money up front like the other companies did, which shows me that they are professionals, that they run their business and they manage their money very, very well, and their people. So that was another huge problem, or a huge plus, and would have been a nightmare problem with the other 3 contractors, because if you could imagine getting half your house done or some of your house done and them saying, well, now we need more money from you because we ran into this, that, or we can't get materials or whatever. I didn't want that kind of a nightmare, and that's another reason why we chose American over the other 3. Let's see, 1 through 3, okay, that. The other 3 contractors I also want to mention, ask for quotes, and anything that says estimate, avoid that company in all aspects of it. Estimate is, it might cost this. A quote is, it's going to cost this. This is going to be your contract price, and tough crap if they screw it up and it's below. An estimate, they can just say, yeah, it's going to be this, and then it might be thousands of dollars more than that. The other 3 contractors left it so vague. It was a potential to adding hidden cost and risk for us to take on more financial responsibility for things that their people may have messed up, like cut a board wrong and cut vinyl siding wrong, do the wrap wrong, where we would have to pay more because their people screwed up. And that's something to definitely take into consideration with the experience of companies. I can tell you right now, with my own experience meeting with Kevin and the fact that how they give a quote and how that's built in, they're so experienced that it's outrageous. It's like amazing and awesome. And just hearing the guys outside the house and walking around and watching what they're doing, hearing how they engage with each other, hearing them throw out, which I would never be able to do, like 2, 3, 4 different measurements to the person who's cutting. I'd be like, you have to have a pen and paper to write it down and then cut it. So they're a phenomenal team. To hear 3, 4 measurements go out, and I'm talking like, you know, I'll just throw some examples out that I heard, like something like 8 3/4 left, 12 and 15 right, 8 and something 15 by 16 left to right. I don't know what they mean. I don't know what they're talking about, but they are skilled. Let me look at my notes real quick. I don't know, for some of you who may or may not, you might get offended by this comment, but a lot of the other contractors also didn't pay attention to detail, which Kevin was very specific and very detail oriented. And that was another huge thing for us. He also, when he came, he brought samples so we could see how it's going to look with our windows and how it'll come up to our windows. They have the dogs. The people who came and working on the house have dogs. So we have 3 dogs, and it was very comforting when they're so comfortable around the dogs. The dogs know and can smell their dogs on them, and they're comfortable. Obviously, my husband did an extremely big job trying to go out as soon as they went out and pick up poop, so they weren't having to, grab that and deal with that when they're trying to do the house. So we try to stay on that as much as possible because this team was amazing. Kevin also spent a lot of time explaining and educating my husband and I on the different siding options, the different colors, just everything that involved this entire project. He was very specific. Some of the key questions to ask was, like, how many people will be on the job? How long will the project take? Those are definitely some really big things to ask. Like I said, I took the time and did my research to every single company, definitely looking at their reviews. That's huge. You'll see, if you Google 5-star Proctor and Dane Enterprises and then American, you'll understand after reviewing all of their reviews, testimonials, seeing the before and after pictures, hearing other customers from the other companies and what they were complaining about. Some of the red flags, just as an example, save you, if you, for some research, one of the ones I read on 5-star that sticks out to me was someone who was having some problems with a project, and they had talked to the salesman. Then eventually they had emailed the owner, and the owner was like, well, I'll send out more skilled people, and then again told them, well, it still wasn't right, so we'll send out more skilled people. And it's like taking ownership and making sure the job's done right the first time, and having quality control and quality management doesn't seem to be happening at 5-star. So I wasn't about to even take a risk with the amount of money that we were going to pay to do this. I look at everything the guys are doing around here for the last week, and I'll tell you what, I could easily see how the other 3 would have had us in a nightmare of issues, because this is an 1820 farmhouse, and I'll tell you what, I've watched, and I've gone out and seen what they've had to deal with, like, you'll see in the video, one of our door garage, one side of it's one measurement, the other side of it's another measurement. On the front of our house, above the garage, actually, for example, was from our front porch toward the end of the garage was 3 different measurements through there to try to put siding, to try to put soffits, to try to put whatever it is that they had to do above the garage. There was 3 different measurements there. We recently found out when they did side the front of the house, well, our side porch, that we were looking, and actually our door even has 2 different measurements. Because this is an original 1820 farmhouse, they just put it together the best they could with the tools that they had at that time. So here's these guys trying to make it look great for us based on some really crappy building back then. But the good thing is, when they got down to the nit and gritty, they actually told us that a lot of the wood that was used was an old oak. So it's really extremely hard. So there's there's to the deep part of it, hardly any rot in the house, which is awesome. Like underneath for our basement actually has like really old oak beams. So it's solid, which is really nice too. All right, back to see if there's anything else I have here. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how I was going to say this. This spring was really wet. American had given us kind of like a possible start project date. But we had such a wet spring that it was obvious that it was going to be postponed and pushed out farther because these guys work in all kinds of weather. But with doing this, and when you're trying to put stuff on that keeps and protects and seals a house, you definitely don't want wet or moisture to be in between those barriers. So we totally understood that. So it was pushed out a little bit, and Kevin was very, he always stayed in contact with us. He always kept us updated on projects, and him and his office let us know when things were going to be here, what day they were going to be here, where we would prefer them, prefer the dumpster to be, where we'd prefer the trailer to be. So, all of that was huge and awesome communication with Kevin and his team and his office. Another big thing that happened, so we had planned on doing this project for a while, and we had it scheduled back, I believe, in April. And in August, the end of August, our homeowner's insurance called and said, you have to get your house sided or we're going to cancel you in November. Now, this was the end of August, so in 3 months I was supposed to get all these quotes, all these reviews, all this homework done. And also, if we hadn't had the money that we had, and all of a sudden our insurance company was throwing that kind of ultimatum at us, we would have never been able to afford to have the siding done on the house, let alone in 3 months' notice have a company come out and actually have it scheduled and have it done. So one of the things that I talked to Kevin about and said, this is what they're saying, I need to know when it's on the schedule so I can let them know if it's going to be done so we don't get our insurance canceled. And he said, let me have their email. I'll forward them the contract, let them know that we have a contract in place, that the work is scheduled, everything will be fine. He calmed me right down. I was very irritated, to say the least, with an insurance company that can just call you up and give you a 3-month ultimatum on, hey, you've got to get thousands, tens of thousands of dollars worth of work done to your house, or we're going to cancel you with no warning. I was not happy, clearly to say I'm not staying with that company. Once this siding gets done, I'm going to have an estimate come in, or an assessor come in, re-estimate or reassess the house. And then I'm going to have insurance companies. I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to have several of them come in, meet with us, and give us quotes. And we'll decide who we're going to go with at that point. Another good thing, Kevin had given me a name and number to call up one of his people that they know that offer homeowners insurance. So I will definitely be including that one in on our process. Let me look at my notes real quick again, see if there's anything else I'm leaving out. We also decided to have gutters done. I contacted Kevin and said, hey, what is it going to cost to have gutters done? And when can they do them? And he gave us a change order, I think he called it, which was a document that showed what it would cost to have our gutters done. We said, yep, let's do it. So he just sent it out, we signed it, and that's also something that we'll be having them do after the house is sided. So I was excited to stay with the same company for that, because that's awesome, because these guys are so amazing. Let's see. So again, Kevin went above and beyond and sent that, emailed it right over, like within hours, emailed it right over to our insurance company, which I thought was amazing. All right. So Kevin came out the day before the project started, met with us, and dropped off some of the materials. I went over and confirmed, he confirmed some stuff with us and, for the start of the project. And the overall experience has just been amazing. It's just, if I could tell you guys, the amount of money that you spend on a capital improvement project, whether it's windows and doors or siding or roofing or any of that stuff, we have now experienced it all. Capital improvements are tax-free. There's no taxes added to it, which is great. But it's a good investment in your house because, one, you're not going to have a rotted house that you have to deal with. When Storm Sandy came through, we had part of our roof rip off. So we had to have our insurance company put a claim. We had to put a claim in and have our insurance company. They gave us literally $4,000 toward a $16,000 roof. And so that was our biggest project back in 2013. And then over the course from then until now, we've saved up money, got some windows and doors done in one room, saved up some more money, got some windows and doors done in another room, saved up some more money, and did the same thing to get our stuff done. And then the biggest project is the siding. Once that gets done, we're like totally done with exterior stuff on our house. So all I could tell you is definitely do your research. Definitely meet with people in person. When they come out to do the quote, keep notes on your initial feelings, experience, what the people were like, how they were like, what they said, and then see if in the quote matches what they said. And when you're comparing the quotes, compare apples to apples, making sure that if a siding company is coming out and telling you that they're giving you a quote for this brand of siding, make sure that the other quotes are using that brand of siding so that the quotes are identical. If they're telling you they're using 1-inch foam board, then make sure the other ones are using 1-inch foam board. If they're telling you that they're using a very thick rolled insulation, then that was another difference. We noticed one was going to do that. The other one was going to do blown-in insulation. Well, we've had blown-in insulation in the house, and we know for a fact that it settles. And in walls, if there's screws that are all the way through, it'll literally just hang up on the screws, and then the rest of the wall isn't insulated. So we definitely didn't want that option. Again, it's a homeowner's experience of learning through all these processes, and I'm hoping by sharing this, that'll help other homeowners look for these things. So I hope this wasn't too long. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please feel free to like it and, make any questions down below or any comments. And I'd be happy to answer them for you if it's more helpful. All right. Have a great day.